สวัสดีค่ะสวัสดีทุกๆคนที่อาจจะดูไลฟ์อยู่ในตอนนี้นะคะเอ่อวันนี้นะคะเราจะมาไลฟ์กันในหัวข้อจบ Community College เนาะแล้วได้อะไรบ้างนะคะเพราะว่าในหลายๆครั้งเนี่ยในข้อมูลที่ผ่านมาเนาะที่เรามีเว็บนากันไปหรือไลฟ์กันไปนะคะก่อนหน้านี้เราอาจจะพูดถึงค่อนข้างเยอะว่าCommunity College เนี่ยคืออะไรหรือมีหลักสูตรอะไรบ้างนะคะซึ่งที่สารู้สึกว่าหลายๆคนอาจจะมีข้อมูลตรงนี้พอสมควรแล้วใช่ไหมคะวันนี้ที่สาก็เลยอยากจะมามองในอีกมุมหนึ่งบ้างว่าแล้วในการที่เราไปเรียน Community College เนี่ยโดยรวมแล้วเนี่ยมันได้อะไรกลับมาบ้างจบแล้วเป็นยังไงหรือว่าโอกาสที่เราจะได้มากกว่าผ่านการไปเรียน Community College เนี่ยมันจะเป็นยังไงบ้างนะคะซึ่งวันนี้หลายๆคนอาจจะเห็นโปสเตอร์ไปแล้วเนาะก็คือเราจะชวนเจ้าหน้าที่นะคะจาก Shoreline Community College คุณอเล็กซ์นะคะขึ้นมาพูดคุยกันถึงหัวข้อตรงนี้ด้วยเนาะซึ่ง Shoreline Community College นะคะก็เป็น college ที่อยู่ในบริเวณเมืองชานเมืองเนาะซีแอตเทิลวอชิงตันนะคะเดี๋ยวให้คุณอเล็กซ์ขึ้นมาคุยกับเราเลยดีกว่านะคะแล้วก็เดี๋ยวให้คุณอเล็กซ์เริ่มแนะนำตัวก่อนนะคะแล้วก็ถ้าใครมีคำถามอะไรนะคะในระหว่างที่เราไลฟ์เนี่ยสามารถแชทเข้ามาได้เลยนะคะไม่ว่าจะเป็นในทาง Facebook หรือทาง YouTube เนาะแล้วก็เป็นภาษาอังกฤษหรือภาษาไทยก็ได้นะคะแล้วก็เดี๋ยวที่จะลองถามคุณอเล็กซ์ให้ค่ะโอเคเดี๋ยวเราเชิญคุณอเล็กซ์ขึ้นมากันเลยนะคะ
Hey.
Hi, Alex. So we're live. Would you please introduce yourself to the audience?
Absolutely. Tisa, thank you for having me. And everyone, it's really great to meet you. My name is Alex. I work at Shoreline College. My job is to travel the world, both in person and online, and just share some information about what it's like to study at a community college, what resources we offer our students, and also to share some success stories of students who have come to Shoreline and talk about what they did after they graduated. So I'm just, again, really excited to be here with you and answer your questions and share a little bit more about why I think Shoreline College can be a great starting point for you.
Great, awesome. So I think we can get started. I've already told the audience if they have any questions throughout the live, they can definitely chat with us. And then we'll answer those questions right away. I think, so I've introduced the theme of today's conversation. It's basically, what can you gain from studying in a community college in the US, right? I think we have done a lot of work kind of talking about what a community college is or what programs there are. But I want to kind of shift that perspective a little bit and just talk about okay, but what happens when you actually go to a community college? What can you gain? And I think we can start with the academic benefits. Honestly, I think that's the biggest benefit that Thai students can gain. I think when students ask me this question, why should they go to Shoreline or why should they go to community college? I think the first thing I think about is certainly the affordable tuition. Would you like to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, totally. So Shoreline's tuition, community colleges tuition in general, is usually about 50 to 75% cheaper than a 4-year university, like the University of Washington, UC Berkeley, New York University, etc. Right? I know that many students and potentially families abroad might think, well, if it's cheaper, the quality must be lower as well, right? If it's more expensive, then it's probably a better quality, right? And I want to let you know that that's not the case at all. That is not true. One of the big reasons why community colleges are cheaper has to do with our mission, really. The mission of community colleges is really education for everyone, right? So we believe that no matter where you come from, whatever your English level is, whatever your education level is, however old you are, that you should be able to access affordable education, which is why you see on this slide that our costs per year, and that both includes tuition and estimated living costs, like I said, are tens of thousands of dollars cheaper than 4-year universities. Kind of how that also sort of aligns with the students' academic goal, right? Many of you, I'm sure, are aiming to transfer to a 4-year university, right? Which is why we compare our costs with other 4-year universities that many of our students either want to transfer to or end up transferring to after they graduate from Shoreline. One of the most popular choices for our students is the University of Washington. It's actually where I went to college as well, over 10 years ago. It's been a minute. But if you go to University of Washington for 4 years, right, you're going to pay what is $66,000 times 4. You're going to pay about $240,000, $250,000 for your degree. And again, that includes both the tuition and the living costs, right? But if you come to Shoreline first, or any community college really, you can save up to $80,000, right? That's about $40,000 for year 1 saved, and then $40,000 for year 2 saved, right? And then you still get that quality education, and then you also end up with a bachelor's degree from potentially the University of Washington or other universities that you apply to and are accepted into. So I think the cost savings is a huge benefit. And I don't know if Tisa, you want me to go on, because I can talk on and on and on and on, but I'm sure you have more questions to ask.
Yeah, I think usually when I show students this, they're probably thinking like, how is it possible? And I would like to mention that like Shoreline College is a public school, right? It's kind of because it's a public school, I think it's the tuition is government subsidized. That's part of it as well. And I think that like community colleges are not as big as university. Sure, like many of students might think that, oh, does that mean like resources are less? I think it's just enough. It's still enough to accommodate all the students that are there, because sure, there are less resources, but there are also way less students. And I'm talking like 10 times, 100 times less than, let's say, University of Washington. And I know that like students are still going to have to pay this tuition in the last 2 years that they're going to a university. But I think like between the first 2 years, they're going to save, just like you said, like $70,000-$80,000. That's a lot of money. You can probably raise another child and send another child to community college with that money, right? So I think, just like you said, it's huge. I think this is the first benefit. What can you get from attending a community college? Well, like a $70,000-$80,000 savings. That's pretty huge. It's probably the first thing that I tell students. And I will translate this a little bit too for the audience that are Thai. ก็สิ่งแรกนะคะที่เราจะได้รับจาก Community College เนาะหลักๆก็คือในเรื่องของค่าเทอมที่ถูกลงนะคะ Community College เนี่ยเป็นสถาบันรัฐเนาะก็คือค่าเทอมส่วนใหญ่นะคะถูก subsidize แล้วด้วยรัฐบาลนะคะมันก็สามารถเป็นค่าเทอมที่มันถูกลงได้แล้วก็ค่าใช้จ่ายโดยรวมเนี่ยค่ะด้วยความที่ community college มันไม่ได้ใหญ่มากแล้วก็ส่วนใหญ่แล้วนะคะ location จะอาศัยอยู่ใน residential area ด้วยนะคะ cost of living มันก็อาจจะถูกลงมาจาก university ส่วนใหญ่ที่อยู่ในเมืองอย่างเช่น NYU เป็นต้นเนาะแล้วก็อีกอย่างนึงนะคะในปี3ปี4นักเรียนอาจจะยังต้องจ่ายค่าเทอมที่มันสูงขึ้นอยู่ใช่ไหมคะถ้าเราไปเรียนที่ University of Washington หรือ Berkeley หรืออะไรอย่างนี้นะคะแต่ว่าใน2ปีแรกรวมๆกันแล้วเนี่ยเราสามารถเซฟคอสไปได้แบบ70,000 ถึง 80,000 เหรียญเลยนะคะใน2ปีแรกก็รู้สึกว่ามันเรื่อง savings เนี่ยเป็นเรื่องใหญ่นะคะแล้วก็เป็นเรื่องหลักเลยเป็นเหตุผลว่าทำไมหลายๆคนถึงเลือกที่จะไปเรียน Community College ค่ะso I did a little conclusion there, but as you said, this includes everything: estimated housing, estimated fees, health insurance, which is included, not included, but they are forced to buy that through the school anyway, so no hassle about that at all, and they pay the health insurance fee at the same time that they pay the tuition as well. I think that's also a big plus.
Yeah, and I just want to add just a little more information about this as well. So, that big number at the bottom, 24,963, right? That's kind of just our estimated cost of studying at Shoreline for 1 year. Some students might pay a little bit less, and some students might pay a little bit more, right? Because there are a couple of costs on here that are fixed, right? Tuition is fixed, fees are fixed, health insurance is fixed, but your books and your housing, right, might vary, right, depending on what classes you're taking, where you want to live, right. Um, so I think it's just important to note that. But in order to get a United States F1 visa, that's the student visa, you do need to share a bank statement with our college when you apply that shows at least $24,963 in it, even if your actual costs are going to be a little bit different. That's just because the government, the United States government, wants to know that you, as a international student, can afford to pay for your own education, and then you will be getting a visa, hopefully, as a result of being able to demonstrate that. So I just want to add some clarity to kind of the numbers that you might be seeing right now on the screen.
And if they have any other questions about visa, we do handle their visas as well. We don't charge anything. So certainly just chat with us. And I think one more thing that you've mentioned that I think is sort of related to this topic as well is that community colleges do offer a lot of support for international students. And there I say it's like more. And I attended a U.S. university as well, right? So I definitely have a personal point of comparison, but I do think that in terms of advising your academic advisors, they're definitely like more equipped, and they're more they're more experienced handling international students across community colleges, because there's also that transfer element.
Yeah.
That most students need to worry about when they're at community colleges. So I feel like this resource is something that's like unique to community colleges, and especially Shoreline College is very famous for their academic advisors. So just like I said, I think there are still a lot of resources for international students, or sometimes even more in terms of academic planning.
Yeah, and honestly, like the relationships that students have with our academic advisors are such an important like key to their success. We often say that the most successful students are the ones that see their advisor at least 2 or 3 times a quarter, right? 1 quarter being about 3 months. Some schools have a semester system. We have a quarter system, 4 quarters, 1 year. But I do want to highlight a couple of things about the International Academic Advisor. Every college, every university has student advisors. That's not special to Shoreline. That's not special about any college. But what is special is that Shoreline has about 5 advisors just for international students. For those who are unfamiliar, we have about 1,000 community colleges in the United States, and most community colleges don't have this kind of resource. That's because the community college is usually supporting students in the community, right? Every city, most cities in the United States have their own community college, which means that most community colleges might have 5 international students, 10 international students, maybe even 0 international students. And at Shoreline, we have 700, which is kind of crazy that a small community college like ours has such a high volume and has placed such a high importance on supporting international students. And so we, in order to make sure that our international students are well supported, we have hired 5 advisors just to support you, right? And these are not advisors who are going to be meeting with American students. We have other advisors just for American students, but these advisors are trained on supporting international students. And that's an important detail because, well, think about your own kind of path as a potential international student, right? Maybe this is your first time coming to the United States. Maybe you're still learning English. Maybe you don't know what you want to do after you graduate. And maybe you do. Maybe you say, I want to go to UC Berkeley after Shoreline and I want to study computer science. You already have your 4 to 6 year plan outlined, right? So compared to a lot of American students, your experience as an international student might look a little different. And so the kinds of relationship and questions that you're going to have with your international academic advisors are probably going to be different than other American students, which is why we have hired 5 of them to help you, again, answer all of your questions, talk about challenges, right? They're there to help you vent about any problems you're having at the college, but also celebrate your successes. They're there to help you with the transfer process, what that looks like, thinking about schools to apply to. They're there to help you select your major if you don't know what you want to study. They're also there to connect you to different resources on campus. So really, this is a huge, this being our international academic advisors are just a huge part of your success story at Shoreline College.
And I do want to point out as well, I have your picture here, Alex,
Hey.
that it's not just international academic advisors that are supporting international students, right? Like at Shoreline, you have a whole office of staff of, in different roles that are all working to support international students specifically. So, yeah.
And I love this picture. We have, and it doesn't actually include everyone here. We have 20 full-time staff members in our international education department. So as Tisa, you were saying, that's 20 people that are going to be supporting our international students, their parents, their friends, every step of the way. So come to Shoreline, be supported, honestly. That's just that easy.
So I'll do my translation now. ก็สำหรับ point ที่2นะคะที่จบแล้วได้อะไรเนาะก็คือจริงๆที่ Community College เนี่ยมีการ support นักเรียนต่างชาติเนี่ยที่ดีมากๆเลยนะคะอย่างเช่น Shoreline เนี่ยค่ะเขามีคนที่อาจารย์ที่ให้คำปรึกษาเนาะ planning transfer หรืออะไรก็ตามเนี่ยมากถึง5คนเลยนะคะซึ่งหลายๆที่ไม่ว่าจะเป็น University หรือ College เนี่ยก็อาจจะไม่ได้มี advisors มากขนาดนี้นะคะ5 คนต่อนักเรียนประมาณ600 ถึง 700 คนเนาะในแต่ละปีนะคะสามารถให้คำปรึกษาได้เทอมละนักเรียนไปเจอเทอมละกี่รอบเลยก็ได้นะคะนักเรียนส่วนใหญ่ก็จะไปเจอเทอมละ2-3 ครั้งอย่างเงี้ยนะคะเพื่อที่จะปรึกษาว่าเทอมต่อไปเนี่ยจะเรียนอะไรดีหรือว่าแบบไม่ชอบคลาสนี้ทำยังไงหรือว่าอยาก transfer ไปที่นี่ต้องทำยังไงอะไรเงี้ยก็คือไปถามเขาได้ทุกอย่างเลยนะคะแล้วก็advisor ส่วนใหญ่เนี่ยได้ทำหน้าที่นี้นะคะมาที่ Shoreline เนี่ยมาเป็น10 ปีแล้วนะคะก็คือค่อนข้างมี experience เลยนะคะแล้วก็ให้คำปรึกษาได้ทุกๆเรื่องที่เกี่ยวกับการเรียนของเราเลยนอกจาก advisor แล้วอ่ะจริงๆ Shoreline ก็มี staff คนอื่นๆที่จะช่วยในการดูแลนักเรียนต่างชาติโดยเฉพาะเลยนะคะซึ่งไม่ได้อยู่ในนี้ทั้งหมดนะแต่ว่าก็จะมีสตาฟรวมกันแล้วนะคะในออฟฟิศที่ดูแลนักเรียนต่างชาติเนี่ยถึง20 กว่าคนเลยนะคะเพราะฉะนั้นก็มั่นใจได้แน่นอนว่าจะมีคนดูแลเนาะอย่างดีในช่วงระยะเวลา2 ปีที่เราจะไปเรียนที่ college นะคะ The next point that I wanted to talk about, there's also staff from all over from the college itself, which is like the campus safety staff. If students want to stay in the dorm, which is like just literally 2 steps away from the campus, well, it's literally part of the campus itself. They can also feel safe because there is also like campus safety and things like that to take care of them as well as part of the college resource.
Yeah, and if you look at my background, you actually can see our campus.
Yes. Yeah. So it is.
Yeah, that's our dorm, and this is our campus right here. It's very peaceful, very beautiful, very safe. Like Tisa, you were saying, and you're looking at a huge reason as to how our campus is able to continue to be safe, right? That's our campus security. You have 2 of our security officers on the slide, but we have about 8 in total, and they take shifts, right? So we have the morning officers, the afternoon officers, the overnight officers, and they're there walking around campus, making sure everything is safe and secure. But not just that, they're also there to help students too, right? We have, for example, unfortunately, it happens not all the time, but sometimes there might be a medical emergency. We had a student a few months ago in a class who passed out. And within 2 minutes, the campus security officer was in the classroom, calling the hospital, getting the ambulance to the student, making sure the student is rushed as quickly as possible to the hospital. And then ultimately, the student ended up being fine and they made a full recovery, right? Also, if students maybe feel for whatever reason like they just need somebody to help them walk from their classroom back to the dormitory, maybe it's late at night, they're having evening class, they can call the campus security and do just that as well. So the campus security is really there to, again, protect campus, help students, and also those who live on the dormitory are right there, right? You are a 3 to 5 minute walk from your classroom. You don't have to think. You can just kind of be in the community and get to know different aspects of the campus, even more so by living on campus, and of course, make a lot of friends. And then once you have a network of friends and your community, of course, the campus not only feels safe, but it feels like home. And that's really what we want you to feel when you come to Shoreline. We want you to feel like this is my home. I belong here. I'm welcomed here. And I've made an impact on this community as well.
I think another very important point of what you can get when you attend community colleges first is that you can graduate really early. You can start in Washington. You can start at a community college as early as 16. And that means you get your bachelor's by 20, which is crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy young, but you can do that even if you're an international student. Only in Washington State only. And I think Shoreline has a very prominent pathway of how students can start as early as 16 and do the university transfer. So if you'd like to discuss the high school completion path a little bit, please go ahead.
Yeah, totally. So as Tisa, you were saying, like the high school completion pathway allows students as young as 16 to start college, which I don't know how many 16-year-olds are thinking about college. I knew when I was 16, I was probably thinking more about playing video games and hanging out with my friends. But I think getting ahead in life now that I, have the benefit of being an adult is such a incredible thing. And being able to start college at 16 allows you to get potentially ahead by 2 years, right? Instead of waiting until you're 18 or 19 to start college, you're taking college classes when you are 16. High school completion, though, I think can be a little bit misunderstood. And what I mean by that is it is a way to both earn a high school diploma and an associate 2-year degree at the same time. But it is not a special, how do you say? I'm sorry, I can't think of the right word right now. It's not a special program in the sense that students are not taking special high school classes. They're not taking classes just with high school students. They're not taking classes in a different part of campus, right? Like you're taking college classes with other college students that are giving you college credit. And what we've done at Shoreline, right, is that we've said, hey, in order to get a high school diploma in Washington State, all Washington State students need to learn about 9 different subjects. You need history, and you need math, and you need science, and other subjects as well, which I learned when I was in high school because I went to high school in Washington State. And we, through a big, long government-approved process, have done what's called a course mapping. So we've said that this class at Shoreline, right, equals this this high school requirement, right? So you're just taking one college level class that meets both requirements. So that's what we mean when you save time, because you're not repeating high school. You're not taking special high school classes. You're only taking the college level classes that give you credit for both your high school diploma and your college associate's degree at the same time.
I think it is true that this gets misunderstood a lot. And I think that the way I usually like to approach it, I think for parents to kind of get an easier understanding is that you're basically going to college. You're starting your bachelor's degree. Obviously, you will not earn your bachelor's degree at Shoreline, but you are starting the process of getting your bachelor's degree as soon as you enter Shoreline. And during that time, the same credits that you're earning for your bachelor's degree is getting applied for the high school diploma. So there's sort of like, because I think I get this question a lot, like, oh, so you start from like high school program and then you enter the 2+2, or you start you take extra classes for high school. It's nothing like that. You're just taking classes for college, but those credits gets applied and gets kind of like approved for a high school diploma. So no extra classes, no extra credits or anything like that. It's just one class can issue 2 degrees, which is an associate's and which would then lead to a bachelor's and the high school diploma. But I do want to kind of point out that like you don't have to start from high school completion. You can just kind of graduate high school first in Thailand and go for associate's degree and then bachelor's degree. That's totally fine. But if you want to start as soon as 16, if you're like very sure that, yeah, I just want to start college right now, which is actually most students, most of our students right now that are at Shoreline are doing high school diploma. If you're that sure and if you want to go right away, this is an option. Well, the difference between the two is that, just like you said, there are certain requirements of subjects that you need to take to issue a high school diploma, but those credits would just qualify as general studies most of the time for the associate's degree anyway. So you kind of already need to take those courses one way or another, but you might not be able to pick the subject as much as if you were not doing the high school completion program. And that sounds, it's getting too complicated. So definitely chat with us if you want more insight on that. But certainly the only difference is that you can start at 16. And there's no extra classes, no extra credits or anything like that. And you can graduate as early as 20 years old. Just like these students probably, they look really young.
Yeah, it sounds too good to be true, but it is true.
It is true. I did it. I graduated fine. Most of my friends that went to Shoreline did it. So definitely it is real. It does exist. But it's only allowed for international students in Washington State. So just make sure that you pick Shoreline, and then you'll be able to get your high school diploma at the same time. So, yes. Okay. And transfer. The next step from what we just talked about, a high school completion, associate's degree, and then you transfer. I think, in my opinion, transfer, especially, so I think let's start from a process of getting into a university. I think if you go the traditional way, if you start from freshman year, it could be difficult for students who are, let's say, they don't have a lot of activities, extracurricular, or student club experiences under their belts, and they don't have the good grades. They don't have like a 3.9, they don't have a 4.0. Sometimes it's very difficult to get to top universities with those profiles. So I think specifically for those kind of students, if they're looking to open up their opportunities, starting from a community college is a really great idea. Aside from everything we just talked about too. Would you kind of like to discuss a little bit about like where Shoreline students transfer to? Perhaps maybe some of the top universities that we're showing here?
Yeah, absolutely. So every year we have about 80, 90 students that go to the University of Washington. This year, we had about 18 students transferred to UC Berkeley, and a handful of other students who went to UCLA, UC San Diego, Arizona State University, New York University. So we have a lot of student success stories. And you actually see some of our graduates on this slide proudly holding the flag of the university they are transferring to, right? So we talked earlier about how the international academic advisor is such a huge part of the kind of transfer process and really guiding the student and helping the student figure out what they want to study and where they want to transfer and answering their questions, right? That's one kind of part of the transfer process. But another thing to consider, as kind of you were saying, Tisa, is that American universities, not just the top universities, but many American universities, right? They are looking for what's called we're going to put this word in quotes, well-rounded student, right? It doesn't matter if you have the top grades, right? For most students, you could have the best grades out of everyone in your class. But if all you did was study and that's it, it's probably going to be very hard to get into a good university, right? Because they also want to see, especially good universities, that you were successful outside of the classroom, right? So they look at your leadership experience. They look at your volunteer experience. They look at, have you done any on-campus jobs, as well as, volunteering in your community? Have you played any sports? Do you play any instruments? Did you join any student clubs? Did you lead any student clubs? And the list kind of goes on, right? So students who are very successful are those who have, again, not just good grades, but also a lot of accomplishments outside of the classroom. And I think Shoreline College is a great way for students to really build their kind of, we can call it resume, build your resume, right? Your list of accomplishments. We have a ton of student clubs. I think that's one great way for students to build their resume, also make friends. We have about 2 different kinds of clubs. We have like culture-based clubs, so like Thailand Student Association and Hong Kong Student Association. And we also have interest-based, hobby-based clubs like video game club and economics club and movie club, et cetera, right? But no matter which club you join, and you should join the clubs that fit your interests, right? The clubs themselves provide a lot of opportunities to build your leadership skills. You can potentially become a club president or vice president or treasurer, right? That's working with money. We will even pay you to start your own club. And I remember one of our students, I think last year he graduated from Indonesia, who transferred to UCLA. He noticed that we did not have a cryptocurrency club. He was a finance guy, and he was really, really, really into Bitcoin. He really liked Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. So he got together a few of his friends. He submitted an application. We gave him $500 to start a club, right? And he became, of course, the president of that club since it was his idea, right? But then he grew the club and he put on events and he really helped to teach other students about cryptocurrency. So then when it came time to apply for UCLA, he was able to say, look at my grades, but also look at my leadership experience, right? And look how passionate I am about finance. It's not just something I study, but it's something I do outside of class as well, right? And I think that really made a big difference. So that's also something I want to kind of suggest to students as well. Oftentimes, students, even especially parents, will ask, what kinds of things should my student do in order to get into a good university? What instrument should they play? Is violin better than piano? What sport should they play? Is basketball better than tennis, right? That doesn't actually matter. It's not the what you do that matters, but it's the how you do it. A lot of universities, they want to see that you, again, are accomplished both inside and outside of the classroom, but they want to see that you are passionate about something. So our UCLA student from Indonesia was able to show, again, that he not just studied finance, but he also cared a lot about finance. And he built himself some leadership opportunities related to his interest in finance, right? That made a big difference, right? I'm sort of talking a lot right now. I think this is a really big subject, and one that many students and parents really want to know a lot about. But two kind of main points that I just want to leave you with. One, Shoreline students go to really good colleges, right? And then two, students that go to good colleges are those that are successful both inside and outside of the classroom. And we have at Shoreline opportunities for you to build your resume, such as on student clubs, on-campus jobs, sports, etc.
And I think we can certainly talk about like student life, like what actually makes these students successful, and what would make students who are watching, prospective students, right, more successful if they're picturing their life at community colleges. But before we get into that, though, I do want to mention that there's also like transfer fairs that is another resource that you do organize twice a year for students to kind of meet universities, kind of get an idea, get to ask by themselves, like what does it take? What kind of student are these universities looking for? And I think that would also help them prep during their 2 years at the college. That would help them learn exactly like what type of student are you looking for? Are you looking for someone who starts a club, who joins competitions, or playing instruments? I mean, I think you would have more of like that time allowance to prepare for admissions into these universities as well. And this is one of the things you could do at community college to higher your chances, is to go ask them, these representatives, these universities themselves as well.
Yeah,
and as you
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
please go ahead.
I was gonna say this right here is really a special thing that we do for students, right? Twice a year, so in the fall and then in the winter, we invite about 100 universities to talk to you, right? And like Tisa, you were saying, I mean, this is really the chance that you as a student have to ask questions, right? What is your application process like? What are your most competitive programs, and how can I get into those programs? What is the student life like? What are some challenges that students might have in the application process that I should consider when I'm applying to your school, right? And the list goes on and on and on. And then most importantly, you can leave the transfer fair with contact information, whether that's an email or a WhatsApp a contact exchange, whatever it is. And then you have someone at that university that you can continue to talk to, ask questions, and then when it comes time to applying, you have them as a resource, which is a really important thing.
I think before we get more into the student life, I think another benefit that they can gain from community college is the freedom to pick and choose their majors. And this, I would like to mention that at universities, being able to pick or change your majors, for that matter, is a very tough process. Sometimes, for example, like University of Washington, you have to sort of send in a second application to get admitted into certain majors or certain faculties. And I think that that process is much more simpler and easier at community colleges.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they say that at least in the United States, on average, a student changes their major 3 times.
Sounds accurate.
That's true for me. I went from business to international studies to politics, right? I changed my major 3 times. And as you were saying, Tisa, a huge benefit of coming to a community college is that you can really explore what your interests are, right? Especially if you don't know. I mean, some students, they're going to come, and this might be you right now, a student who's watching. You might say, I am a biology major. I love biology. I want to work in a lab. I'm going to get my master's degree in biology. I already have my 10-year plan mapped out, right? That's fantastic if that's you. But many students, and this is true for me, they come to college and they're like, I don't know. I think I like marketing, but maybe I like computer science too. And, art sounds kind of fun, right? and you might have so many different interests that it's hard to narrow them down. And so the benefit of a community college is that you can try a little bit of everything, right? You can take that economics class, you can take that marketing class, you can take that business class and see what works for you and what doesn't. The other thing that Tisa you mentioned is the fact that, because we are an open college, meaning everyone is welcome, that encourages you even more to explore and experiment. Whereas in four-year universities, oftentimes, if you want to study a major, you need to apply again for that major, right? That's not true for every major. So I studied politics at University of Washington, and that was a very what we call an open major. But computer science at the University of Washington is very competitive. And if you apply for that major at University of Washington, it's probably hard to get in, right? So being able to come to a college where you can just try some new things, see what works for you, and also save some money in the process, because we talked about how our tuition is a lot lower, I think are a huge benefit to students. Yeah, we see that in the success stories of our students as well.
I'll go over some of those points we talked about in Thai as well for the Thai audience.
Sure.
ก็ประโยชน์นะคะของด้านการเรียน Community College เนาะก็คืออย่างที่เราคุยกันไปนะคะเพิ่มเติมเนาะก็คือนักเรียนเนี่ยสามารถถ้าเป็น Community College ในวอชิงตันนะคะนักเรียนสามารถเข้าเรียนได้ตั้งแต่อายุ16ปีนะคะแล้วก็เรียนจบตอนที่อายุ20ปีซึ่งโปรแกรมเนี้ยจะเรียกว่าการเรียน High School Completion นะคะซึ่ง High School Completion เนี่ยมันจะไม่ได้ใช้ระยะเวลาเพิ่มเติมไม่ได้มีการเรียนคลาสเสริมจากการเรียนตัวโปรแกรมปกตินะคะหรือว่า 2+2 University Transfer เนาะถ้านักเรียนเนี่ยไปเรียนตั้งแต่16ปีเลยนะคะมันก็อาจจะต้องแจ้ง college ให้เข้าใจเนาะตั้งแต่แรกว่าเราเนี่ยอายุ16ปีแล้วยังไม่จบมัธยมแล้วก็ต้องการออกตัวดิโพลมาด้วยนะคะcollege เนี่ยจะใช้หน่วยกิตที่เราเรียนในช่วงปี1ปี2เนี่ยค่ะไปขอออก High School Diploma จากรัฐวอชิงตันให้เราออกมาด้วยนะคะซึ่ง High School Diploma ตัวนี้ก็คือวุฒิมัธยมเลยนะคะไม่ใช่วุฒิเทียมนะคะเป็นวุฒิมัธยมตามปกติเลยซึ่งถ้านักเรียนคนไหนอยากจะใช้วุฒิมัธยมตรงนั้นสมมติว่าเรียนไปแล้วรู้สึกว่าโอเคได้วุฒิมัธยมแล้วก็ไม่ได้อยากเรียนที่อเมริกาต่ออย่างเงี้ยกลับมาใช้ที่ไทยอย่างเงี้ยก็สามารถทำได้เหมือนกันนะคะหรือว่าถ้าจะเรียนที่อเมริกาต่อไปเนี่ยตัวนี้ก็ใช้ยื่นได้ตามปกติเลยเนาะเพราะฉะนั้นจะมีประโยชน์มากนะคะสำหรับน้องๆที่ยังอยู่มัธยมเรียนไม่จบแต่ว่าพร้อมแล้วที่จะไปเรียนปี1เลยเนี่ยก็สามารถเข้าไปเรียนปี1ที่ Shoreline College ได้เลยนะคะแล้วก็ออกตัว High School Diploma เนาะในช่วงปีแรกนะคะปีที่2ก็จะเป็น Associate Degree แล้วก็ Transfer ไปอีก2ปีนะคะก็จะจบปอตรีตามปกติได้เลยนะคะหรือถ้าใครจบมัธยมแล้วหรืออยากรอจะจบมัธยมก่อนก็สามารถไปเรียน4ปีที่อเมริกานะคะ2ปีที่ Shoreline College 2ปีที่ University ตามปกติได้เลยเนาะแต่สำหรับคนที่พร้อมที่จะเรียนจบเร็วนะคะอันนี้ก็เป็นประโยชน์ที่มีที่ Community College ในวอชิงตันเท่านั้นนะคะแล้วก็ต่อไปในเรื่องของ transfer เนาะถ้าสมมุติเราเรียนจบ High School Diploma ไปแล้วก็ Associate Degree แล้วพร้อมที่จะ transfer แล้วเนี่ยเราสามารถ transfer ไปที่ไหนได้บ้างใช่ไหมมันก็นักเรียนส่วนใหญ่นะคะที่เรียน Community College มาเนี่ยก็จะมีgoal มีเป้าหมายเป็น Top U เนาะซึ่ง Top U เนี่ยเขาอาจจะดูที่เกรดสูงด้วยส่วนหนึ่งนะคะแต่เขาอาจจะดูที่กิจกรรมด้วยเนาะว่าตอนมัธยมหรือก่อนหน้าที่เราจะเข้ามาเนี่ยเราทำอะไรมาบ้างนะคะได้ทำชมรมหรือเปล่าได้เล่นกีฬาไหมหรือว่ามีกิจกรรมอาสาหรืออะไรที่เราทำเป็นพิเศษหรือเปล่าซึ่งกิจกรรมเหล่านี้เนาะเมื่อเราเรียนอยู่ที่เมืองไทยเนี่ยแหละคนอาจจะไม่ได้มีโอกาสได้ทำอย่างนี้ใช่ไหมคะหรือว่าไม่ได้มีโอกาสได้เกรดที่สูงอย่างเงี้ยค่ะก็สามารถจะมาทำกิจกรรมเหล่านี้หรือว่าดึงเกรดเราขึ้นมาได้ในช่วงที่เราอยู่ Community College นะคะเราก็จะมีโอกาสในการ transfer เข้า Top U มากขึ้นเนาะ ซึ่งอย่างปีนี้อเล็กซ์ก็บอกว่ามีคนเข้าอย่าง UC Berkeley อย่างเงี้ยค่ะก็มีคนเข้าได้แบบ10กว่าคนเลยนะซึ่งถือว่าเป็นเปอร์เซ็นต์ที่เยอะมากๆนะคะเพราะว่าปีหนึ่งเนี่ยนักเรียนต่างชาติจบจาก Community College โดยเฉพาะ Shoreline College เนี่ยไม่ได้เยอะมากขนาดนั้นนะคะแค่ไม่กี่ร้อยคนนะคะก็ถือว่าเป็นเปอร์เซ็นต์ที่ดีมากๆสำหรับ Top U เนาะอันนี้เฉพาะสำหรับ Berkeley นะคะแต่ว่าอย่าง UCLA U Michigan Illinois หรือว่าNYU อะไรอย่างเงี้ยค่ะก็เป็นอีกส่วนหนึ่งใช่ไหมคะก็ถือว่าสร้างโอกาสได้เยอะมากๆเลยสำหรับเรียนที่ไม่มั่นใจที่จะเข้า Top U เลยตั้งแต่ปีแรกนะคะแล้วมันก็จะมี resource ต่างๆที่ช่วย make sure ว่าในปี3เราจะสามารถไปถึง dream school ของเราได้นะคะอย่างเช่น transfer fair อย่างเงี้ยเนาะที่เขาจะเชิญตัวแทนจาก university ต่างๆรวมถึง Top U ด้วยนะคะมาคุยกับเราเลยที่ college ว่าเขาต้องการนักเรียนแบบไหนต้องการกิจกรรมแบบไหนหรือตัวเราต้องทำยังไงบ้างเราสามารถเข้าไปคุยได้เลยนะคะแล้วก็เก็บ contact ของเจ้าหน้าที่เหล่านั้นไม่ได้เพื่อที่พอถึงเวลาที่เราจะได้ transfer แล้วเนี่ยเราจะได้มีคนที่เราติดต่อได้เลยนะคะแล้วก็อีกอย่างหนึ่งที่เราพูดถึงกันไปนะคะก็จะเป็นในเรื่องของสาขาการเรียนที่ Community College เนี่ยเลือกสาขาการเรียนไหนก็ได้เลยนะคะแล้วก็สามารถเปลี่ยนสาขาการเรียนได้หลายรอบด้วยนะคะซึ่งที่ University มันจะยากกว่ามากเนาะมันอาจจะเป็นในเรื่องของเอกสารที่เราจะต้องส่งเรื่องเกรดที่เราจะต้องทำหรือว่าหน่วยกิตตรงนู้นตรงนี้อย่างเงี้ยค่ะหรือบางสาขาในบาง University ที่เข้ายากมากๆอาจจะต้องส่งใบสมัครแยกไปเลยนะคะแต่ว่าที่ Shoreline College เนี่ยไม่จำเป็นต้องเป็นแบบนั้นนะคะก็คือเราสามารถเลือกสาขาไหนก็ได้ที่เราต้องการแล้วก็สามารถเปลี่ยนได้ตามใจนะคะโดยเฉพาะในปีแรกเนาะที่เราจะค่อยๆเก็บหน่วยกิตวิชาพื้นฐานไปก่อนเนี่ยค่ะก็สามารถลองเทคคลาส Marketing สัก1คลาสก็ได้ Accounting สัก1คลาสก็ได้อย่างเงี้ยแล้วก็ค่อยๆเลือกค่อยๆเปลี่ยนไปตามใจได้เลยนะคะ Okay, so the next thing that we mentioned before, but want to go in depth about a little bit, is the student life, right? You mentioned student clubs already, but a student club is very important. But if, for example, like you are not able to become a member of a club or an officer of a club or start your own club, there's also other activities that you can certainly put on your little like portfolio or resume to apply to universities with, and these are all like very valuable experience as well. If you want to mention that a little bit,
Yeah,
we can go slide through slide.
Sure.
Let's start with this one so it's easier, right?
Sure.
One at a time.
Sure. And I'm just plugging my computer into a charger.
No worries. Well, I can talk about this first while you do that. No worries at all.
Sure.
I think the first thing that I could think about if students want to kind of like build up their portfolio, their resume to apply to university if it comes to like student activities, it's probably like this is I'm not recalling the actual name that you call it, but it's basically kind of like an exhibition, right, where students kind of bring information and bring kind of the pieces of their cultures to display in a like exhibition hall where all students from Shoreline can browse around, like get a little taste of like Thai candy, get a little taste of like Malaysian candy and things like that. And you can become a part of the exhibitor and you can put that in your resume. And I think it's like a very valuable experience as well because you're showing your diversity, you're showing that you care about, being a part of a community that's greater than yourself. So I'm not recalling the name, but perhaps you do know what this fair is called.
Yeah, it's called Global Showcase.
There we go.
And this is an event that we have every single year. So it's, I think it's usually in like April or May. I can't exactly remember the exact month. But like you were saying, Tisa, I mean, this is a huge opportunity for students to share not just about their own culture, right, but also to learn about so many other cultures that are at Shoreline College. And we invite students, we invite teachers, professors, we invite staff, and we also invite people in the community, right? So you have like hundreds of people that are coming to talk to you, right? And to learn about Thailand, to learn about Thai culture from you. This is a great way to, like you said, Tisa, not just build your kind of resume in terms of here are like different events that I supported. It's also a great opportunity to practice your public speaking skills, right? Because you have to share about your culture in a very limited kind of time frame with many people. And also, again, this is kind of the most important part. You get to share about your culture, right? I know the United States right now can kind of seem like a little unwelcoming, maybe to different cultures, but in Seattle, in Washington State, diversity is a huge part of our mission and something that we really care about. So we are proud to hold this event every year, and again, we are also excited to support students to create, these diverse multicultural connections.
And I have another slideshow here. This activity seems new to me. I definitely didn't do one of these when I was in Shoreline, but perhaps you can talk about it.
Sure. And sorry, I just had something in my throat.
No.
Yeah, this was actually from a few months ago. We had our first International Day of Yoga. So we actually invited some staff members from the Indian consulate in Seattle. And they came to share about the history of yoga and also do a demonstration. And so, I mean, the event itself is really cool. And you can see that, there were students that joined. There were also staff and teachers that joined. But it's also a great example of how we invite people from the community to talk to you, to learn, to share, so we can all grow together. One of the other kind of important events that we had this past year was an Asian American speaker series. As you might know, in Washington State, especially because we're so close, to Asia, we just have the Pacific Ocean in between us. We have a lot of immigrant communities from different countries in Asia, including Thailand, right? But we have many people from China, from Japan, from Korea, from Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, and the list goes on and on. And so throughout the year, we had invited people from the University of Washington, from other community organizations, to talk about some piece of the history there. We had someone talk about the history of Thai food in Washington State and on the West Coast. We had someone else come to talk about the history of Korean Americans after the Korean War, right? And so this is just an example of how we, again, really want to bring together different cultures so we can kind of all learn and grow together. And those are also great ways to other people learn and to kind of experience, the diversity of our campus and our community.
And I think that even if students want to, maybe they're just participants, right? But I think joining these activities could open so many more doors to other activities. To connect to a different community, which could then lead you into a different, learning about a different culture, learning about different things in the greater Seattle community. So this is also a great place to make friends, it seems like.
Absolutely. And we say this phrase a lot in the United States. Sometimes I roll my eyes, but it's true. We want students to work hard. We also want students to play hard, right?
Yes.
It's important to make friends. Of course, we want you to do well in your classes, and we also want you to, learn new skills and grow as a leader and be able to build your resume for the transfer university so you can be successful. Right? But we also want you to have fun, and we want you to make friends, and we want you to have memories of your time at Shoreline. And so these, events are great ways to do just that. I talked earlier, I think I briefly mentioned how maybe I didn't mention this. I lived in China for 2 years. I studied abroad in China when I was at the University of Washington. The way that happened, long story short, my freshman year, I joined a student club. There were many Chinese students there, and I became friends with those students. And then I became very curious about China. And then I took a class about the history between China and the United States. And then, oh my God, I think I want to go to China. And then I went to China, right? And so you never know, like you were saying, Tisa, who you meet and what those connections could actually lead to. I'm sure that Chinese international student, my first day of freshman year, had no idea that they had just changed my life, right? That because of them, 3 years later, I would move to China, right? But that happened. And that can also happen to you. Now, of course, as a student coming to Seattle, you are studying abroad yourself, right? So come with an open mind and think about all of the possibilities to meet, to connect, and again, to have fun.
And speaking of which, students coming to Seattle and you. So I'm just kind of showing some activities, right, that students could join, they could do, they can put on their resume, kind of open up their worlds a little to new possibilities. Or you can even do sports and get scholarship and make friends and put it on your resume.
Yeah, there are many opportunities to connect. Sports as well. We have competitive sports for men and women. You see the teams that are listed there. Our scholarships are for really competitive students who, they want to play competitively for us. But we also have what we call intramural. That word just means casual play sports. You want to shoot some hoops with your friends or hit a ball around, volleyball, baseball, basketball, whatever. We have those open gym hours throughout the week for students to do just that. So no matter, kind of what your interest is, I think there's a lot of opportunities at Shoreline for you to connect and to join events and to meet people that, can bring you kind of closer to your interests and also closer to the Shoreline community.
Yeah. And I think like if you're not a sports person, there are also, this is more like you can show off your culture. There are more cultural activities as well, or even holidays. I think these Shoreline hosts a lot of holiday events. I think this international student leaders probably try to do it every other holiday, but you can sign up as volunteers or as officers, something like that, and organize these fun events. You're going to get to have fun, and you're going to get to have more things to say on your personal essay or even your resume. So that's also an option for students who maybe want to focus more on studying, right? They don't want to kind of do that long-term commitment like sports or international student leaders, and they can also join activities like these. That's kind of like a one-off thing on holidays and things like that. There are many things to choose from.
And this was from our Halloween party last year, by the way.
Did you join?
I did not. I think I was out of the country, but it looks like it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. I think Halloween party is one of the bigger events for student leaders each year. Yeah. I think on the year I did it, I didn't have it was hectic, right? Because it's one of the first activities that we need to organize as international student leaders. And so I think I just ended up in like an octopus suit, kind of like PJ, kind of onesie kind of thing, because I was like, I'm not gonna like have time to do any of my makeup or like get dressed and whatnot. So I'm just gonna be in a onesie. And it worked out. So.
It'd be really easy to just put on a bed sheet and go as a ghost, but I think an octopus.
Right. But if that's the kind of student you are, you can still join. Why not?
Totally.
With a bed sheet and be a ghost.
Yeah.
Okay. So I want to talk about more into the student life next, and I think another point that I discuss a lot with students when it comes to their student life, what it's like and things like that. I think one of the first things I mentioned is Seattle as a city, how vibrant it is and how beneficial it is for their studies, especially if they're in tech. Because most students don't know this, but Seattle is basically a tech hub. it has a lot of headquarters of pretty much every famous tech company you can think about. And maybe you can mention some.
Yeah, I mean, we have many tech companies have offices in Seattle, but also many tech companies were created in Seattle, including Amazon, Microsoft, Boeing. 100 years ago was created in Seattle, Starbucks, Costco, and many other companies as well. And so I think this is, a great opportunity for students to be able to network and kind of see what's possible, not just in terms of what their transfer could look like, transfer opportunities, but also after they graduate, where they want to work, what kind of job they want to have, right? A lot of these companies, they might host like their networking events, or there are alumni from our college who now work at those colleges or at those companies, who might come back to the college to talk to you. And so I think by having so many famous companies in our backyard in our city, this presents a really great opportunity for students to again meet those employees and learn more about what's possible.
And just in case anyone is still wondering where is Seattle, this is where Seattle is. You can certainly look up more information about Seattle, but the weather is very mild in Seattle. It doesn't get too cold. It's not too hot. But it does rain a lot. Aside from that, I think it's pretty okay for Thai students, if I do say so myself. And as Alex said as well, a lot of tech companies. I think it's also for students who are interested in like health science, public health, or like biology. There is a lot of what do you call it, hospitals and healthcare centers as well in Seattle. That is not mentioned here, but I've been getting a lot of questions about health science and public health. So I do also want to mention that Seattle do have a lot of facilities like that you can learn from.
And we are very famous, just to add on to that, for medicine and medical research. The University of Washington has one of the best medical schools in the country, and many of our hospitals are either managed or staffed by the University of Washington's medicine, and also we have one of the cancer research centers in the United States. I hear some. I don't know if you're hearing that.
Sorry?
I'm hearing some echo.
Oh,
right.
Is it still echoing?
Yes, it's stuck.
Oh, 1 second. Could be from me. Sorry.
Might be. I'll keep talking. So it is a great place, again, not just to kind of see what's possible in terms of technology, but if you're interested in the medical field, there are many opportunities to volunteer and get familiar with many important players in the medical field.
And I do want to mention more about Seattle. Seattle is a big city. There's a lot of, I don't think it would qualify much as a tourist city, but I do certainly think that it does have touristy spots, but not as much as LA or New York in that sense. But it does have a lot of, I think, workers that come into work for the big companies. And interns. I think Seattle has many sports teams if you're into watching sports. Or these are some of the tourist spots. And a really good public transportation as well is something that I do want to mention. Most US cities don't have a lot of ways you can get around without a car, but students can certainly live here without a car. Is there anything you want to mention that I maybe gloss over?
I think you did a really great job of summarizing kind of our city. It's a very beautiful city. We're right by the water. Again, we are not as I would say maybe developed with public transportation as some of the big cities in Asia. Of course, Americans love to drive, but we also do have a really good public transportation system in general. Number 9 in the country. We have lots of nature. You see that here, including mountains and forests and rivers. I would challenge you and encourage you as a student to explore a lot of the nature in the Seattle area, even if you have never gone hiking before or if you don't like to be outside. I think the nature in Washington State offers a lot of options, both easy, accessible hikes and also harder, challenging hikes as well. And Tisa, you were talking about the mild weather. It doesn't get too hot in the summer and it doesn't get too cold in the winter. It just rains a little bit more than maybe you might be used to in Thailand. But that means that it's well, the temperature is comfortable often for a nice outdoor adventure. So I think it's a great way to get more familiar with our city and our state by exploring the outside. Oh, and we cannot hear you right now.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, that's better.
There's no echo anymore, correct?
No, your audio quality is a little choppy, but I think you can just go forward.
Oh, okay. Please let me know if it's not working. But I will do a little bit of a summarization in Thai of what we've just talked about, a few points
Sure.
we've just talked about. ก็อย่างแรกนะคะที่เราพูดถึงกันไปเนาะก็คือในเรื่องของการ build resume build profile นะคะในการ transfer เข้า university เนาะในการเรียน community college เนี่ยเราก็มีหลายโอกาสนะคะที่จะสร้างโปรไฟล์เนาะให้ดู attractive มากขึ้นนะคะสำหรับการ transfer เข้า university ซึ่งถ้าสมมติว่าใครอาจจะไม่ได้แบบว่าถนัดที่จะทำกิจกรรมแบบในระยะยาวไม่ได้ถนัดจะเป็น student leader เป็น tutor หรืออะไรอย่างนี้นะคะแล้วก็สามารถเลือกทำกิจกรรมเหล่านี้ได้ซึ่งก็อาจจะเป็นอย่าง global showcase อย่างเงี้ยค่ะที่เราจะไปออกบูธเนาะเป็นประเทศของเราเอาอาหารไปให้เขาชิมไปทำกิจกรรมบน stage หรืออะไรอย่างเงี้ยนะคะก็เป็นสิ่งที่เราสามารถใช้ไปพูดถึงใน personal essay หรือว่าใน resume หรืออะไรที่เราจะยื่นเข้ามหาวิทยาลัยก็ได้เนาะหรือว่าจะเป็นการเข้าร่วมกิจกรรมอย่างเช่นแบบอย่างอันนี้นะคะ International Day of Yoga อะไรอย่างเงี้ยค่ะไปหาเพื่อนใหม่ๆเนาะ join community ใหม่ๆนะคะเพื่อมันจะมีโอกาสที่จะ expand หาโอกาสได้มากขึ้นนะคะในการที่เราจะเข้าร่วมเป็นหนึ่งใน community ของ Seattle หรือ Shoreline อย่างนี้นะคะซึ่งมันก็จะช่วยนะคะให้เราเนี่ยได้เปิดโลกใหม่ๆแหละแล้วก็มีสิ่งที่เราจะได้พูดถึงมากขึ้นนะคะในการยื่นโปรไฟล์เข้า University เนาะนอกจากนี้นะคะมันก็จะมีกิจกรรมอย่าง Seattle Tour หรืออะไรอย่างเงี้ยในช่วง orientation ที่เราสามารถเข้าร่วมก็ได้หรือถ้าสมมติเราเป็นนักเรียนปัจจุบันของชาวไร่อยู่แล้วเนี่ยเราก็สามารถสมัครไปเป็นอาสาพานักเรียนไปเที่ยวไปเดินเล่นตามเมืองอะไรอย่างเงี้ยในช่วงประถมนิเทศได้นะคะเพราะว่าอะไรพวกเนี้ยมันก็อาจจะเขาเรียกว่าอะไรมันอาจจะทำให้เราไปสู่จุดที่เราอาจจะสร้างคอนเนคชันหาเพื่อนได้มากขึ้นทำอะไรได้มากขึ้นกว่าที่เราคิดนะคะอาจจะหาสิ่งที่ตัวเองชอบได้เจอมากขึ้นนะคะซึ่งก็จะช่วยทำให้ประสบการณ์ในการเรียนของเรามันมีคุณค่ามากขึ้นด้วยเนาะหรือถ้าใครเล่นกีฬานะคะอยากจะเล่น professional เลยนะคะที่นี่ก็สามารถยื่นขอ scholarship ก็ได้หรือถ้าเราอยากจะเล่นแค่แบบว่าเล็กๆน้อยๆไปตั้งชมรมเล่นกีฬาแบบเป็นฮอบบี้นะคะเป็นงานอดิเรกอย่างเงี้ยก็ได้เหมือนกันอะไรพวกเนี้ยจะเป็น experience ที่ valuable มากๆนะคะมีค่ามาก ในการพูดถึงตอนที่เราจะยื่นโปรไฟล์เข้า University เนาะแล้วก็ไม่ต้องพูดถึงในเรื่องของแบบการใช้ชีวิตเลยนะยิ่งเราหาเพื่อนได้ง่ายขึ้นมีคนรู้จักมากขึ้นอะไรอย่างเงี้ยค่ะมันก็จะทำให้การใช้ชีวิตของเรามันง่ายขึ้นเป็นเท่าตัวเลยนะคะหรือเราจะจอยเป็นแบบว่างานฮาโลวีนงานแบบว่าอันนี้น่าจะเป็นแบบ Chinese New Year หรืออะไรอย่างนี้ใช่ไหมที่อาจจะเป็นแค่ถ้าใครแบบอยากโฟกัสกับการเรียนอะไรอย่างเงี้ยค่ะไม่อยากจะแบบว่าทำกิจกรรมอะไรเยอะแต่ว่าก็อยากจะมีอะไรให้พูดถึงบ้างอย่างเงี้ยแล้วก็เข้าร่วมกิจกรรมพวกนี้ได้ทั้งหมดเลยนะคะทั้งหมดนี้ไม่ได้มีค่าใช้จ่ายเพิ่มเติมอะไรนะส่วนใหญ่นะคะในการเข้าร่วมกิจกรรมพวกนี้นะคะเพราะฉะนั้นก็เป็นหนึ่งในประโยชน์ของ Community College ด้วยแหละด้วยความที่คนมันเยอะขึ้นนะคะกิจกรรมเหล่านี้มันก็คนมันน้อยลงเนาะกิจกรรมเหล่านี้มันก็อาจจะมีที่ให้เราเข้าร่วมมากขึ้นนะคะแล้วก็อีกอย่างหนึ่งนะคะการใช้ชีวิตอยู่ในเมืองซีแอตเทิลเนี่ยมันค่อนข้างมีประโยชน์ในหลายๆด้านเลยนะคะซีแอตเทิลเนี่ยเป็นเทคฮับนะคะมีสำนักงานของบริษัทใหญ่ๆที่มีโลโก้อยู่ตรงนี้ทั้งหมดเลยนะคะแล้วก็เป็นที่ที่คนเนี่ยเข้ามาทำงานกันเยอะมากนะคะเพราะฉะนั้นวัฒนธรรมเนี่ยมันจะ diverse มากนะคะแล้วเนี่ยยิ่งถ้าใครสนใจเรียนด้าน STEM หรือด้านเทคเนาะเช่น Science Technology Engineering Math Computer Science Business หรืออะไรอย่างเงี้ยค่ะopportunity ต่างๆที่เราจะได้จากการที่บริษัทเราเนี่ยอยู่ในโลเคชันของเมืองเรามันค่อนข้างเยอะเลยนะคะเขาอาจจะมีบางวันที่เขาอาจจะเปิดให้เราเข้าไปดูออฟฟิศเขาได้หรือเปล่าหรือมีแคมป์มีเวิร์กช็อปมีแฮกเกอร์ตอนอะไรอย่างเงี้ยที่เราสามารถเข้าไปคอมพิวต์หรือเข้าไปหาข้อมูลเพิ่มเติมได้นะคะเพราะฉะนั้นมันก็เป็น benefit ที่ดีมากๆเนาะสำหรับนักเรียนที่อยากใช้ชีวิตอยู่ในเมืองที่มีโอกาสด้านการเรียนรู้ค่อนข้างเยอะนะคะซีแอตเทิลเนี่ยก็ค่อนข้างเหมาะเลยซีแอตเทิลเป็นเมืองที่ไม่หนาวมากแล้วก็ไม่ร้อนมากด้วยนะคะแต่ฝนอาจจะตกเยอะหน่อยเนาะอยู่ติดแคนาดานะคะแต่ว่าไม่ได้หนาวขนาดนั้นเนาะแล้วก็อย่างที่บอกไปก็คือมันเป็นเทคฮับด้วยความที่คนเข้ามาอยู่ในซีแอตเทิลค่อนข้างเยอะเนี่ยมันก็มีกิจกรรมข้างนอกนอกเหนือจากในคอลเลจให้เราทำเยอะแยะมากมายเลยเนาะอย่างเช่นพวก National Sport Team ต่างๆที่เราสามารถเข้าไปดูเกมเขาได้ไปจอยได้อะไรอย่างเงี้ยค่ะหรือว่าแค่จะไปเที่ยวตามเมืองอะไรอย่างเงี้ยค่ะก็มีธรรมชาติมากมายให้เราดูเลยนะคะซีแอตเทิลเนี่ยค่อนข้างขึ้นชื่อเรื่องธรรมชาติของเขานะคะแล้วก็อีกอย่างที่เป็น big plus เลยของการใช้ชีวิตอยู่ในซีแอตเทิลคือเราไม่จำเป็นต้องมีรถเลยนะคะซีแอตเทิลเนี่ยมี public transportation ที่เข้าใจง่ายนะคะแล้วก็สะดวกสบายพอสมควรเลยนะคะเทียบกับเมือง US ส่วนใหญ่เนาะก็คือมีบัสที่ไปทุกที่นะคะไปแทบจะทุกที่เลยนะคะแล้วก็มีรถไฟฟ้าด้วยนะคะที่ต่อจากแอร์พอร์ตจนตอนนี้ถึงใกล้ๆชอไลน์ก็มีแล้วนะคะมีสเตชันใกล้ๆชอไลน์เลยเพราะฉะนั้นเดินทางสะดวกมากๆค่ะ Okay, so I just did kind of like a short summary of what we discussed about in Thai. I think we're a little bit over time here, so I just kind of want to talk about a little bit more points, a few more points really briefly. So I think that like aside from being able to live in a vibrant city, a diverse culture, I think you can also build a lot of connections through international and foreign friends. Which like if you want to discuss like what's going on in this picture a little bit.
Yeah, so this is one of our new international student orientations, I believe from a year ago. And this is just a great example of all the diversity, some of the diversity, I should say, on our campus. So you see students from Europe, students from Africa, the Middle East, from Asia, of course, Thailand, from Latin America, South America, right? And this really highlights again, the diversity on our campus and also the diversity of friendships that you can make. And in addition to this too, you will be able to make a lot of American friends as well in your classes. There will be many American students that you can connect with and get to know more. And so I think coming to Shoreline really means becoming a global citizen. And that is something that I think, especially in this current moment in history, is very important.
Yeah, this is I think I just want to mention that there are many friends that I make during orientation that I'm still like friends with today, and they're all over the world. There's some in Korea, there's some in China, there's some in like Indonesia, and I think that's like a very wonderful thing to have and learn through these connections that I built from like all the way from first year of community college.
Absolutely. I'm glad that you were able to make those friendships.
Yeah. So another thing I want to mention is that I think, well, personally, it's very important to me, but I don't know if it might be important to students who are looking at this right now, watching us right now. But I do want to mention that the dormitory that we discussed about previously. I do want to mention that it's like kind of like in an apartment style. So apartments with like 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, and things like that. And I think something I didn't live in the Shoreline dorm at the time because it wasn't built yet. But I did live in an apartment in a similar style. And I think I did kind of get a lot of cooking skills. I think a lot of Thai students do not cook because our food is like very cheap and it's already very nutritious. So I do want to mention that like getting to live on your own and learning these life skills is also something you can gain at a community college. It might not be a lot of what a lot of people are thinking about, but I think it's very important as well. So if you want to discuss the dorm in a little bit more detail, what that looks like, what the dorm culture is like, I think I can take it away.
Yeah, I mean, again, the dorm is sort of the community within a community, right? So we have about 216 rooms. There are 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, and 4 bedroom options. And most students are going to have their own private room, like you see in this picture. And it comes with, the basic needs, such as a bed, a desk, a chair. But of course, you can decorate it to make it fit your personality and kind of your vibe, right? But the dormitory is not just a convenient place to live, but it's also a way to make connections. And we keep talking about this point because I think it's important, right? So you're going to live potentially with other students, again, having your own private room, but sharing a bathroom, sharing a kitchen, sharing a living room. And each floor has what's called a residential assistant, an RA. And that is a current student who just sort of manages the floor that they are assigned to, but also helps to build community and also answer questions and try to solve any challenges that come up. The dormitory staff plan a lot of events. They have movie nights. They have video game parties. They have holiday parties as well, and other things throughout the week. I need to see. Sorry about that. I got a sneeze right in the middle of talking. So yeah, the I think living in the dormitory is a great way to really feel the vibrancy of the community because you are with other students in this one space. And it's also kind of an in between an apartment, right? It's sort of like an apartment style, but it also feels a little bit more student friendly. So it's a nice kind of what we would say middle ground between leaving your, maybe your parents' home in Thailand and, eventually moving into an apartment later in life. It's a good middle ground.
Yes. And aside from that, I also have this picture on here as well. This is the dorm right here, and it's just a part of campus. So very, very convenient. And one thing I want to mention before we end this live is that I think English skill is a very obvious thing that you will develop once you get there, right? But I do want to mention that it's not just sort of like better English. I think you're learning English at an advanced level, because what happens is that when you enter community college, no matter what level you start with, you do have to take an English course, at least English 101 and English 102, which is part of the curriculum of a bachelor's degree in the United States. You have to take it no matter what. And if you start from an earlier level, you can sort of climb those ladders in Shoreline College as well. So they don't need to worry about their current English level. They will get to study it on an advanced academic English level. So that's something that I just want to mention. That is another benefit of attending a community college. Most universities, I think, do not have separate English courses that they can take before they start taking their bachelor's degree.
Yeah, and that's a very unique thing too, or a special thing for Shoreline and for community colleges, is that we have a really, I'm going to say comprehensive, there's probably a simpler word to use, English language program. So students can come hypothetically with zero English. Maybe they know hello, thank you, right? And by going through our program, they can get prepared for college level classes. Most of our students will probably start in level 6 or level 7, since they already have learned some English before coming to Shoreline. But we have some students that also start in level 3, level 4, or level 5. So for students that are worried about, oh no, I need to improve my English before I can take college classes, we have you covered. So don't worry.
Yeah, and I think that that pretty much concludes all the points that I have prepared today. So if you have anything more to add, Alex, please go ahead. And I think we're a little bit over time than scheduled, so I'm just giving you kind of like a space to talk about any last thoughts, and then we'll end this live on a good note.
Sounds good. Well, those of you who are joining us live, or maybe you're watching the recording later, I just want to share that it's a challenging time maybe for international students right now. And as you think about where you want to study abroad, or if you want to study abroad, you might be watching the news and you might be thinking, wow, the world is a scary place right now. But I want to tell you that what you see in the news and those feelings of anxiety, although they're normal to feel that way, doesn't really reflect the actual experience of coming to another culture, making friends from all over the world, and finding your own success story, right? And Shoreline remains open. Washington State remains open. We want you to come to Shoreline, and we're excited to help you grow and to help you find your path to success in life. So I want to assure you that Shoreline can be a good option for you. And if you have any questions, you're always welcome to talk with me, to talk with Tisa, and we hope to see you soon.
Yeah, and I do have I do agree with what you just said. I think like what we've talked about today, right, all the benefits of attending community college and things like that, is it doesn't, like, I know the political climate right now is scary, but it doesn't affect what we just discussed about. Community college is still, I believe, is still a very good way to start your pathway of going to study in the United States. And within those reasons that we've just given, oh, hi, Alex.
Hello.
Sorry. Did you just, sorry, Alex just cut out. That's okay. But as I was saying, I think that within those reasons that we were giving you all about Shoreline Community College, if that's something that you relate to, if that's something that you see are the benefits that you like to have, that you would like to join as part of the community, then I think Community College is still a very good pathway to start your studies in the US.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you for that. It's a great way to wrap everything up. And again, thank you all for joining us. We are excited to talk to you again.
Okay. Sounds good. ก็ขอบคุณทุกคนมากนะคะที่เข้ามาดูไลฟ์ในวันนี้ค่ะแล้วก็ถ้าใครมีคำถามอะไรนะคะก็สามารถคอมเมนต์มาได้เลยนะคะเดี๋ยวทีมงานเราจะไปตอบเนาะหรือว่าจะแอดไลน์เราเข้ามาก็ได้นะคะ @KORPUNGUN ค่ะก็ถ้ามีคำถามอะไรก็สามารถทิ้งไว้ที่คอมเมนต์ได้เลยนะคะขอบคุณค่ะ